Hello, I'm Megan, and the moment I found out that my husband, Samuel, was cheating on me, my world shattered. Samuel and I had been together for 5 years before we got married. We were the classic high school sweethearts, and everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. The truth came crashing down when one of Samuel's employees reached out to me with proof of his infidelity. For 2 whole weeks, I couldn't bring myself to believe it. But Samuel didn't leave me in doubt for long. One evening, he came home, and without any emotion, told me he wanted a divorce. I was blindsided, completely shocked. When I asked him why, he simply said he didn't love me anymore. I pressed him about the affair, but he denied it, despite the evidence staring him in the face. He seemed to think that we could part ways amicably, but I wasn't about to let him off that easily. After all, I had given him 5 years of my life, and I wasn't going to just let him walk away without paying for his betrayal. I might have to consider the prenup, Megan, he said, but we don't need to stick to it strictly. We can work things out between us. I understood why he wanted to avoid discussing it. Samuel had insisted on a prenup before we married, something to protect himself if things went wrong, and to ensure I wouldn't cheat. At the time, I agreed. I wasn't planning on cheating, and the terms seemed fair. What neither of us expected, though, was for him to be the one to betray our trust. Now, here he was, stuck in a mess, desperate to marry his new partner, who, by the way, looked like a supermodel. The anger I felt towards Samuel wasn't just hurt, it was pure rage. I wasn't about to let him take anything from me that I deserved. I had proof, and I wasn't afraid to use it. I made it clear to him, you won't get away with this. I'll take what's mine, and remember the prenup you insisted on. Samuel, of course, didn't take kindly to my words. He threatened to retaliate. But I stood firm, reminding him about the affair and the legal protections I had in place. This isn't going to end well for you, I warned him. When Samuel left, I was left standing there, a tangled mess of anger and sadness. I couldn't believe I had spent 5 years of my life with the wrong person. But despite the pain, I refused to let him control my future. I called Sophia, my mother-in-law, who had always been one of the closest people to me. I know a lot of people have difficult relationships with their mothers-in-law, but Sophia has always been a gem. Unlike her son, Sophia is a woman of strong morals, someone who treats everyone with love and respect. She was confused and hurt by the divorce, and she tried to mediate between us. Not knowing the full story, I didn't tell her everything, though, fearful of losing her support. Growing up, my parents had abandoned me, and I carried that fear with me. Eventually, I moved out. Sophia was sad, but her anger at Samuel outweighed her sadness. He had hoped she'd take his side, but she surprised us both. Then one day, in a panic, she called me, saying she had uncovered something about Samuel that shocked her. She insisted on talking in person, her voice full of urgency. Megan, I need to tell you something about Samuel. A cold wave of concern washed over me. Is it about his affair? I asked, bracing myself. Sophia's voice trembled as she shared what I hadn't expected to hear. I only found out yesterday. Samuel confessed to me, and I now have proof, details from one of his employees. It's all true, Megan. I'm so sorry. The truth hit me with a jolt, but it also felt strangely relieving. At least the deception was finally out in the open. I never knew that you and Samuel were heading for a divorce, Sophia continued, her voice thick with regret. I'm so sorry, Megan. I can't help but feel like I made mistakes raising him. Maybe I'm a bad mother. Tears welled up in her eyes, and seeing her so vulnerable broke my heart. Sophia didn't deserve this. She had always been kind, a wonderful mother and mother-in-law. To me, she was family, almost like a second mom. The thought of losing her in this mess made me break down. 2. But then, I knew I had to be strong for her. I gently placed my hand on her arm, trying to offer some comfort. Sophia, please don't blame yourself. You've always been good to me, and this is not your fault. She shook her head, still unsure. No, you don't understand. There's more, Megan. Something else that's been eating at me, and I'm worried you'll think less of me. I gave her a reassuring smile. Sophia, I'll never judge you. What Samuel does is his own choice, not yours. If there's more you want to share, I'm here to listen. Her face twisted with worry as she hesitated, and then, in a quiet voice, she told me the most shocking news yet. Megan, my son is acting irrationally. He's planning to set you up, to get you arrested. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Samuel, my husband, was plotting to have me arrested? The thought was so surreal. It felt like something out of a thriller. I had completely misjudged Samuel when I fell for him. Sophia's revelations only deepened my growing sense of disbelief and concern. She explained how Samuel planned to hide money in my new apartment and then have the police called on me. He believed that by framing me, he could protect his assets and belongings during the divorce. The prenuptial agreement had a clause that would void it if both parties were responsible for the breakup, which was why he'd come up with this manipulative scheme. He actually told you this, thinking you wouldn't expose him? I asked, stunned. I don't get it. Why did he think I'd support him in this? Sophia's face showed a mixture of anger and confusion. I can't understand how misguided he is. He's delusional. But Megan, I want you to know, I'm here for you. What he's doing is wrong, and I'm so sorry. I shook my head gently. No need for apologies, Sophia. Thank you for trusting me with this. You've been nothing but kind. Even though he's your son, I can't bear the thought of losing you after the divorce. You're like a mother to me. Sophia's eyes softened. Megan, you're like a daughter to me too. Samuel can go kick rocks. I don't want you caught up in his games. Promise me you'll protect yourself. I gave her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, Sophia. I'm not someone to mess with. Now that I know what he's planning, I'll turn the tables on him. I shared my plan with Sophia, and while her expression was heavy with sadness, she seemed relieved. I had expected her to try to protect Samuel, but instead, she supported me. With her blessing, I set my plan into motion. First things first, I needed to prepare. I ordered cameras online to set up CCTV surveillance in my apartment. The building already had cameras in the stairwell, but I needed to cover the rooms. With a friend's help, I installed the cameras, knowing that Samuel wouldn't be far behind. It didn't take long before he showed up, claiming he wanted to discuss the divorce, a ridiculous excuse. But I played along. I pretended to buy his story and acted like I was still clueless about everything. In the kitchen, I watched as Samuel slipped something into my desk drawer. I smiled to myself, resisting the urge to confront him. I wanted him to think I hadn't caught on yet. In reality, my cameras had recorded everything. After he left, I immediately checked the footage to see if he had planted evidence on my desk. I didn't want to physically check in case I needed to maintain my calm with the authorities later. The footage confirmed what I already suspected. Samuel had hidden cash in my work desk. I felt a mix of fury and relief. Sophia had been right. If she hadn't warned me, I never would have had proof to defend myself. I saved the footage and braced myself for his next move. The following day, the cops showed up at my door, with Samuel in tow. I greeted them calmly as Samuel pretended to be surprised. Asking how he could help, the officer explained that Samuel had accused me of stealing $200 when I had left his house 3 weeks ago. I didn't take any money, I said firmly. I don't steal, and I'm not about to start now. Samuel insisted, citing past instances during our marriage. The officers, clearly not eager to jump to conclusions, listened to both sides of the story. Samuel's patience wore thin as he repeated his accusations. I stood my ground, refusing to let him twist the facts. I don't steal, I said again, emphasizing my disgust for the very idea. The officers remained calm, but I could see their suspicion growing. Samuel's attempt to frame me was unraveling, and I could only hope it wouldn't take too long for them to see through his lies. Samuel insisted I had stolen his money, bringing up a secret drawer in his house as proof. The officer turned to me, his expression serious, asking if I knew anything about the missing money. Samuel looked overly confident, no doubt expecting my arrest. However, I remained calm and steady, knowing what he didn't. I had a plan. I'll help you find the money and expose who really took it, I said, my voice steady. It won't take long, and I have strong evidence. The officer's gaze shifted between Samuel and me. Ma'am, if you have evidence, please share it. We can't accuse anyone without reason. Before I could respond further, Samuel cut in, his voice full of venom. Officers, she's lying. She took my money because I'm divorcing her, and now she's trying to deceive you. I suggest you arrest her immediately. The officers, clearly growing weary of Samuel's attitude, held their ground. We'll handle the situation properly, sir. The lady has offered to prove her innocence. We need to investigate further before making any decisions. Samuel paused, a flicker of nervousness crossing his face before his anger flared again. His insistence on my arrest was only making him seem more suspicious. I calmly led the officers to my work desk and showed them where the cash was hidden. As I did, Samuel's face lit up with smug satisfaction, and he grinned at the officers. Hey, did you catch that? He said, his voice dripping with triumph. She stashed my cash in her closet. That's the evidence right there. You've got to arrest her now. I took a deep breath, ready to take control of the situation. Yes, the money is indeed in my closet, but that doesn't mean I took it, I said coolly. Just so you know, I have cameras all over my place since I live alone. I didn't need anyone's approval to install them. If I had hidden the money, you would have seen me on the CCTV footage. The officers looked at me, then back at Samuel, their expressions unreadable. Do you have security cameras at your home, ma'am? I do, but we don't need any more videos to prove my innocence. The money was found in your closet, not mine, and that's enough to show who's guilty here, I said, giving Samuel a pointed look. The officer shook his head. We're capable of assessing the situation, sir. Please allow us to do our job. Ma'am, could you show us the camera footage, please? I didn't hesitate. Sure, I have nothing to hide. I'll show you exactly what happened. Taking out my phone, I quickly pulled up the video from the previous night. As I handed my phone to the officers, I noticed Samuel's expression shift. Panic flashed in his eyes as he realized that I had footage that could expose him. He didn't know exactly what was on the video, but he was certain it wasn't good for him. I could almost see the walls closing in around him. I wasn't lying about the cameras. After the officers reviewed the footage, they turned to Samuel and said, "We've seen it all. You placed your camera in her closet, making it appear as though you planted money to have your wife arrested. Care to explain?" Samuel's face went pale, but he quickly regained his composure, trying to stay calm. "Officers, there's been a mistake. I didn't do anything wrong. She's the one who stole money from me." The officers, clearly unimpressed, warned him about the consequences of wasting their time with unnecessary calls. Samuel, now looking nervous, tried to justify his actions, claiming the video was simply an accident, that he had placed the money in my closet by mistake. But his desperate attempt to twist the truth wasn't convincing anyone. Turning to me, the officer asked, "Ma'am, do you wish to press charges against your husband?" I took a deep breath. trying to keep my emotions in check. "Officers, we can handle this ourselves. There's no need to involve the police any further." But the officers were firm. "It's your decision, ma'am." I looked over at Samuel, his face a mask of anxiety and fear. He knew he was caught. His plan to frame me for theft and secure a quick divorce had completely backfired. The trap he set for me was now snaring him instead. I glanced at Samuel and said coldly, "Come on, Samuel. Let's not drag the cops into this. We can settle it ourselves without groveling for mercy." Samuel shot back defensively. "Why not involve the cops? Megan? You did it first when there was no reason. I have a good reason now. You accused me of theft, trying to ruin my reputation. That was a dumb move." I narrowed my eyes, unfazed. I just wanted things to be fair in the divorce. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. "Your tears and apologies mean nothing now. You're getting arrested." The officers stepped in, and I made my decision. I pressed charges. As Samuel was handcuffed and led away, he began to cry and beg for mercy. But Megan felt no sympathy. Not after everything. Not after discovering his affair. Once the officers had left, I immediately called Sophia to let her know what had happened and prepare her for what might come next. I told the cops everything. I said, "Samuel will get bail, but be ready. He might suspect you were involved in exposing his plan. If he shows up here, I'll tell him exactly how I feel. Are you okay with that?" Sophia's voice was resolute. "I'm ready for it. If he gets mad at me, so be it. I'll tell him the truth, that I was the one who warned you. If he stops talking to me, good riddance. I'm done with him. His actions have shown me who he really is, and I'm seriously considering changing my will." I was taken aback by her words. "Sophia, what do you plan to do?" "I'm thinking of disinheriting him," she said quietly but with conviction. "I don't want someone who's capable of destroying my life to inherit anything from me, and the fact that my son is involved in criminal behavior. I can't forgive him for betraying you, Megan. He's made his choice, and now I'm making mine." I could hear the resolve in her voice. This wasn't just about Samuel's betrayal, it was about Sophia reclaiming her peace and protecting herself from someone who no longer deserved her trust. I feel incredibly grateful to have Sophia in my life, especially after everything that happened. Her support during my divorce meant the world to me. Sophia stood by me when I needed her most, comforting me and even promising to take me on a trip once the divorce was finalized. As for Samuel's arrest, I didn't pursue any legal action against him. Instead, I turned the situation to my advantage and moved swiftly to finalize the divorce. Given his arrest and affair, the prenup was upheld, and I received over 87% of our assets. Samuel not only lost a significant amount of money but was also responsible for covering my lawyer fees, just as the prenup dictated. In the end, Samuel's schemes backfired in ways he never anticipated. He lost his affair partner as well after she scolded him for losing money to me. It wasn't something I had planned, but it certainly added to my sense of satisfaction. Since the divorce, Sophia and Samuel are no longer on speaking terms. This wasn't something I orchestrated, it's just the result of his actions. They only see each other at family events now. After the revelation of Samuel's affair and his subsequent arrest, he suffered significant fallout. He lost the support of several family members, and his actions were labeled as unforgivable. Samuel became isolated and faced continuous criticism, even long after the divorce. In a particularly heated argument with Sophia, she made it clear that she was done with him. Having lost his mother, wife, and mistress all within a short span, Samuel now finds himself alone, scrambling to rebuild his finances and reputation. As for me, life started looking up after the divorce. I became wealthier, just as Sophia had predicted. We spent an amazing 2 weeks in Florida together, and it brought us even closer. Now, 2 years later, we're preparing for another adventure, this time to Italy. I haven't yet returned to dating, as I'm still focused on my mental health and therapy, but I'm in a great place. I'm taking this time to rediscover myself, embrace my independence, and savor the happiness that comes with it. Life is treating me well, and I'm excited for what the future holds.